Moses is leading the Israelites through the desert. I'm very compelled by that story. So for example, one of the things that's really interesting about it is that the story begins with a tyrannical state, and then it's the Spirit of God that leads the Hebrews. Maybe it's the Spirit of God that characterizes the Hebrew longing for freedom. And that's kind of an interesting idea, psychologically. You think that, what's the Spirit of God? The Spirit of God is that which manifests itself within you in opposition to tyranny. Could be, that's not a bad idea. It's quite an idea. It's a remarkable idea. And maybe it's true. It's certainly the case that that's how God is presented in that story, and in many other ways, but that being paramount above all. And there's another corollary to that, which is, well, we shouldn't be subjects of tyranny if we're children of God, and for Israel, and Israel means we who struggle with God, it's not appropriate for us to be subject to tyranny. And that's interesting too, because I think we sort of accept that idea at face value in the West. Yeah, slavery is wrong, obviously. It's not so bloody obvious, these things. One of the things that I'm really curious about in relationship to the postmodern types who make group membership the sine qua non of existence is, why is slavery wrong? Exactly. It's just one, if we're all groups and one group lords it over another, it's like, that's not wrong, it's just tough luck for the oppressed group. There's no wrong there, because it's only wrong if we're sovereign individuals, right, with some intrinsic worth, who are not to be subject to arbitrary tyranny. That's when it's wrong, and you have to accept all those other axioms before you get to say anything about slavery being wrong at all. Otherwise, it's just, hey, like Marx pointed out, it's just brute economics. And so you can make a moral judgment about that if you want, but what's your criteria for saying that it's wrong? And of course that would upset people on the radical left who want to presume that it's intrinsically wrong without having to presume all the things that you have to presume to make it intrinsically wrong, and without even noticing that that's just a sleight of hand. In any case, so that's part of that biblical narrative too. We're not the sorts of creatures who should be subject to tyranny. And then the tyranny might be, well, is it the tyranny of a state, or is it the tyranny we impose on ourselves? And I would say probably both. Why not both? The story could be referring to both. We tyrannize ourselves with our own presuppositions all the time. And then you might ask yourself, why? Why don't we just give up our tyrannical presuppositions? Because they're not worthy and they're oppressive, but we don't give them up, and more often celebrate them. And I think the story has an answer for that too, because it's out of the tyranny into the desert. It's like, is that better or worse? How about worse? And so what if it's the case that even to escape from the tyranny of your own presuppositions, that you don't go from the tyranny to the promised land, you go from the tyranny to the desert? And who the hell, wants to do that? And the answer is no one with any sense. It's like, hey, I'll just keep the tyranny, thank you very much. At least I know where everything belongs there. And fair enough. This is a very serious question, and it's an open question in the Exodus narrative, whether the desert is worse or better than the tyranny.